Good evening, Chicago, and happy Friday. This is Jerry Vasilatos and EHeller coming to you from our home studios in Chicago. Good evening, Ed. Thanks for joining me tonight.
How's it going, Jerry?
I'm having a good hair night. And that's all that matters when I go on the air, because as I share with my friends, yes, I acknowledge and I admit I'm terribly vain, but what are you going to do? You look great. You look good. Did you have a good week this week?
The week was all right. I didn't do a whole lot, really. So I got my computer screen all whacked out, but I think I have my audio issues resolved finally. Hopefully people can tell me in the chat how my new microphone setup is working.
You have got some great sound there. I think you probably have better sound than I do, because I'm working off of this little portable Tula mic, which is a cool microphone, and I thought it would be adequate for home broadcasting instead of having this big Zeppelin in my face like you see most live stream broadcasters use. But I also am running off of a DSLR camera, and I know you're running off a laptop, so I think you're compensating on the audio and I'm compensating on the video. So maybe we can. I don't think anybody cares.
I'm actually. Well, see, I got this. This monster that was collecting dust for probably more than a decade, and I was like, well, let's see if we can get this thing to work with my iMac. So
yeah, sounds good.
Here we are, and I don't know how much I'm screwing up the sound right now doing this.
You're screwing it up pretty badly, actually, so I'm going to give you a moment to put it back.
That's awesome.
Oh, Friday libations. I know that you're prepared also. Let's do a quick on-screen cheers. There we go.
I keep forgetting the camera's at the top of the screen bezel there, so I'm gonna just go up like this. This is a Eugene Porter. I believe that's Revolution Brewery.
Looks good. I've been drinking a lot of Smirnoff Ice, red, white, and berry these days. I don't know if it's because we're in the summer and we just came out of July 4th and it's a celebration, but the stuff's really, really good. I brought it to your barbecue not too long ago, and Kit really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there might actually be a couple in the fridge. I'm going to have to try one of those one of these days.
Give it a try.
It does scare me a little bit because it's basically the color of Windex.
It does look like but it looks like a space drink. Like in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker drank blue milk. We're drinking blue libations. And did you ever see the movie what was Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr.?
If I have, it's been a very long while.
Well, it was about the Zodiac killings in San Francisco, and it was directed by David Fincher. Fantastic historical recreation of what was going on. But Jake Gyllenhaal took Robert Downey Jr.'s character to a bar that was not too far from the San Francisco Chronicle. And Jake Gyllenhaal's drink of choice was called an Aqua Velva. And Robert Downey Jr. was asking him,
same color,
because it was blue, like our Smirnoff red, white, and berry. You see, it always sounds like I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm always able to loop the story back around to what we're talking about.
And we're just talking about what we're drinking. These are not sponsors, ladies and gentlemen.
They're not. But Smirnoff, if you're out there, and what are you drinking, Ed?
This is more local. It's Revolution Brewery Eugene Porter, which is a really nice dark beer with a little hint of sweetness. It's not quite like a Guinness. But it's in the ballpark.
Well, Eugene Porter and Smirnoff, we are happy to take your sponsorship if anybody from either company is watching. I'll be drinking these anyway, and I'm sure you will too, but a little sponsorship couldn't hurt, would go a long way over here.
Yeah. And,
so I'm going to bring this.
It kind of feels like we need to have a little bit of lubrication to talk about all the craziness going on in the city right now, huh?
Oh, fuck right, yeah. I'm already slipping, and I haven't even had a lot to drink. But I'm going to bring up my alternate screen here because I actually spent most of the day, which is why we started late tonight, everybody. I apologize. I had a lot of errands to run, and I got back home a little bit late. But I have to say it was very productive during my drive because I listened to the full recording of last Friday's city council meeting. So I was really more up to date with the details of what they discussed. And towards the end of the meeting, one of our older people shared something I thought was very profound. And I want to bring it up here before we begin our conversations. And I think that some of what I'm going to have to share after we share this, I don't know that it's going to shock many people. It might surprise them given how critical I've been of CPD in the past. But I want to share what she had to say here. And I do believe I've got it queued up right.
But what I think we all realize is if we ain't learned nothing from the global pandemic is we don't have the luxury not to work with each other all together. And so the thought that you don't have all the community organizations, all the churches, all the violence preventions, all stakeholders there is a problem. It really is. At the end of the day, when I have an issue with a building in my community, the first people I call are either the community organizations and the violence preventions, because I do understand the police are overworked. And so when I do that, that makes it better for our community. We got to do a better job at having those conversations in January. And all stakeholders should be involved. Don't pick and choose who you work with. And that's my problem with the entire city council. We're not moving because we're picking and choosing who we work with. I got 4 commanders that I have mad respect for, and I can pick up the phone anytime and call them. And when I end those calls, each time I say, be safe, and I want you to go home to your family. And so going back to Alderwoman Tobias' point, how long have they been on 12-hour days?
Starting today through Sunday.
So starting today.
Through Sunday.
So I thought her comments there, Ed, were what I really wanted to share first, because I think that, again, as critical as I've been of the Chicago Police Department about many things, after listening to Superintendent Brown throughout the whole meeting last Friday, he's obviously still on Lori Lightfoot's leash. I don't care what he says. When Alderman asked him if he has full autonomy or not, he says he has full autonomy. We know that that's not the case. I don't believe that's the case. However, he really does have a thankless job, and I think he was very respectful. And I don't know that I would have held my composure listening to many of the comments that came from City Council, many of the demands, many of the accusations. Mm-hmm. I'm not thrilled that he's from out of town, but maybe that's a good thing that he came from out of town, because he doesn't carry local baggage that maybe a superintendent who was here from Chicago might carry. And I do want to say also, one of the things, I made some notes when I was driving. What really struck me about the discourse at that meeting, which was 6 hours, was that there were a lot of white faces that wanted more police on the streets, and it was the people of color that wanted more investment in their communities. And that turns my stomach to have really seen, there was one alderman from the 13th Ward who all he said was he just wants more police on the streets. And I think if so many aldermen are from some of the, let's say, more affluent neighborhoods are only worried about policing, it explains why this is a tale of two cities as far as how police resources are allocated, how money from City Hall is allocated and not properly invested in these communities. This is a reactive city, not a proactive one. And you know, again, I said this to Jose when we were talking Tuesday. I feel like I'm pissing in the wind because we're saying the same things over and over again. Maybe if the mayor opened up those TIF funds or allocated more resources that came from federal funding for COVID relief into the most damaged and hardly struck communities that are still recovering from COVID, it's not going to be an overnight solution. But it's what we're seeing play out every day is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again. Let's throw more money at the police. Let's put more police on the streets. But crime's going up, more shootings, more murders. That's the definition of insanity. They're following the same playbook, expecting a different result without actually changing the playbook and recognizing that in my opinion, the most segregated city in the nation, we're not allocating financial resources to reopen the mental health clinics, to reopen schools, to create more safety nets, more youth centers. I mean, we've talked about this, and I don't mean to filibuster, but those were my initial thoughts after really digesting the entire 6-hour city council meeting last Friday.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's even more understandable why you feel like you need to drink after having watched that whole thing. there's just, I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of more politics and posturing going on in that meeting than actual efforts for solutions. But you had that alderman who you just played. She was talking about, you guys shouldn't be picking and choosing. And, that goes more along the lines of not just policing issues, but city council issues in general. And that kind of brings us back to what we've talked about on a few other episodes, like Jay Malgreen's Youth Center project. And if you're going to have a situation where people want to work with you and they bring up all the options and they tell you, okay, this is what we can do. This is what you need to do for us in order for us to make that happen. And then you decide that instead you're going to focus on, boosting more police by doing a hybrid police and youth academy thing. Like what does that say about the functionality of the city council?
Well, one of the older people brought up the point that there are 15 specific communities in the city that are constantly suffering from violence, that are understaffed with police personnel, and that the superintendent does have the power to reallocate personnel from different neighborhoods. And what he suggested was, if you've got a neighborhood that has 350 police officers that isn't as badly struck with violent crime, and you've got another neighborhood that has 250 officers, can't you shift the 50 officers to the more violent neighborhood? And what the superintendent responded with was that you can't reallocate resources because of labor contracts, which sounds ridiculous to me, because if you've got violence, his authority should supersede those labor contracts. Now, he also made the point, what other neighborhood is going to want or be happy with him reallocating their resources and shuffling off to a more violent community? And I would say, well, yeah, that's probably the white affluent neighborhoods that want more cops in their neighborhoods to protect them. Meanwhile, the more violently stricken neighborhoods are suffering, and they don't have the resources there. What's the solution? More money for more overtime and more cops. Well, no, that's not the solution. And another alderman brought up a wonderful point. God, I don't remember if I've got it. I don't know that I've got it queued, but what she was talking about was that, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. She was talking, so reallocating the resources. Oh my God, I can't believe I just forgot where I was going with that. But
yeah, I don't have my notes from last week.
Yeah, I know.
We did.
But anyway, maybe that thought will come back and hit me in a moment, and I can re-explore it. But I now that I know that the city council meetings are recorded for us to view, I'm going to make every effort to watch every city council meeting before we broadcast and take copious notes so we can really discuss it properly. Also, it was interesting to me that they allowed public comments in the beginning of the city council meeting. And I want to explore how maybe I can submit some comments based on stuff we're talking about here, the definition of insanity, and not allocating correct resources to open mental health clinics and throwing more money at police. Yeah. Throwing more money at police departments instead of actually allocating the resources. Oh, it was about defunding the police, is what she was talking about.
They give you 3 minutes, so work out your solid 3.
Right.
Make sure there's at least 15 seconds of something to laugh at in there, and then plan for the maybe 10 to 15 after that joke, and then follow up with the stinger, and you should be golden.
I just remembered my lost thought, and I talk so fast, everyone, because I've got so many thoughts going through my head. Sometimes one pops away, but it was about defunding the police. And there was one older person who literally broke it down. We support the police. We don't want you to leave our neighborhoods, but we're going back to the question of how the money is being spent. Defunding the police means reallocating it to these other critical areas that need the financial resources to hopefully prevent crime, create better living conditions, more infrastructure, more opportunities than opening up more prisons, putting more cops on the streets, and making the private prison industry rich off of our taxpayer dollars. So that was the thought that I had lost.
Yeah, there was a small story that came out today that's tangentially related about what was it? It was the city had come up with I think they expanded a drug program where they don't where you have the option now to get treatment instead of being arrested. What do they call it? The diversion program.
There's some problem with your audio. It's very scratchy up here. Something loose.
Oh boy. Hello. Is this any better?
It was like try again.
Check.
We're getting some really. You sound static now. Maybe a cable came loose.
Let me check. Just make sure I got everything plugged in.
You're better now. You're better now.
I'm better now. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you in the middle of your thought, but we couldn't make out what you were saying.
That's okay. Let me switch. Hold on. Now it's going to screw up my sound for another second here. Stand by.
Okay. And Where Pilgrim, I did see your comment about too many libations, but I'm only on my first, and it usually takes me about 6 of these before I got to worry about the effects. But
okay. I'm gonna have to turn my headphones off.
okay. Talk now.
They didn't switch over, so the audio is still coming through my speaker. But if you hear me okay,
I can hear you fine now. There's
all
no
right,
problem.
let's roll.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so yeah, I was just a quick note on the city was doing a diversion program, and here it is. They are expanding a narcotics diversion program, which is a better use of resources than the police just arresting these people and putting them in prison. That was the point I was getting to.
Okay.
And so it apparently was a test program in the 11th district, and they said it was working so well with the treatment programs that they've expanded it to the whole city. So finally, a little bit of good news coming out of the CPD as far as that goes. So.
Now, unfortunately, this particular story came across my radar, which, if memory serves correct, I may have spoken about it with you or Jose in a previous show regarding diversity hires in the police department. I believe someone at the city council meeting had asked Superintendent Brown what was the status of diversity hires to get more officers of color on the streets. And he said that they were working very, very hard to meet that initiative so that hopefully interactions with the community in neighborhoods that where people of color are living don't escalate, maybe because of the shared culture, experience, respect. But this story came to us today from Block Club Chicago, Justin Lawrence. The city watchdog finds black applicants to police department are least likely to be invited to the academy. Despite making up 37% of the initial applicant pool, black applicants from 2016 through 2018 represented just 18% of those invited to join the police academy, the report showed, but reforms have since been enacted. The Chicago Police Department needs more black officers if it wants to reflect the city it serves, but their applications are often rejected, the city's top watchdog said in a report released Thursday. Despite making up 37% of the initial applicant pool, black applicants represented just 18% of those invited to join the police academy during a hiring surge conducted by former Mayor Rahm Emanuel from 2016 to 2018, the Office of the Inspector General found. Well, I think we just found our reason. If it was during the 9-digit midgets reign. The pool of people who see, and I think that, and Gary McCarthy was also serving as police chief. The pool of people who CPD invites to the academy is markedly less diverse than the pool of people who apply for the job. Deborah Witzberg, Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, told Block Club after the release of the report. Comparatively, white, Hispanic, and Asian candidates increased their share of those invited to the academy. Compared to the initial applicant pool, white applicants made up 22% of the initial pool, and 34% of those referred to the Department of Human Resources for an invitation to the academy. The study found female applicants made up 34% of the initial pool, falling to 27% of those invited to the academy due to a large attrition rate following an initial physical fitness evaluation. Diversity and representation is important, and a more diverse department is a better and stronger one, Witzberg said. What we're aiming to do in this report is to equip the city and the police department to adjust its own process to better meet that goal. Now, I find the interesting thing about this report is it is reflecting what was going on from 2016 to 2018. We know that Mayor Lightfoot entered office. We had another police superintendent who kind of was kicked out in disgrace until Superintendent Brown was brought in. So we do have a little bit of a buffer period here that I'm hoping what this city watchdog report is sharing starts to change, given what Superintendent Brown mentioned at the city council meeting last Friday about them needing to focus on more diverse faces in the police department, also based on merit and quality, not just, to fill quotas.
Yeah, well, they also seem pretty desperate to just get more cops in general. It sounded like their police academy didn't have a whole lot of applicants to begin with, and the ones that were there got wiped out by COVID. And so I don't know how bad it is, with the number of police we have, whether the issue is just, like you said, deployment in areas where they need the police to be, and then changing the resources, or reallocating resources to other programs to prevent the need to have so many cops.
I also think if the police force was more balanced with a diverse force, if you dispatch more African-American police officers to the African-American neighborhoods, as much as we hate to recognize the city is segregated, I do think that there would be a lot more, I don't know, I would imagine there's going to be a lot more empathy from black cops serving black communities, recognizing what so many of the challenges are there that unfortunately too many white cops we're seeing don't seem to have a connection with. And not all, but I mean, we've seen a lot of bad stories coming out, and they usually involve, white officers in some of these violent incidents. So I just hope that they get on track and are able to recruit more officers of color. For me, the jury's out on Superintendent Brown, because I believed in Mayor Lightfoot, and I was wrong about her. She pretty much hoodwinked me during the election, and Superintendent Brown seems sincere, but as I was listening to him at the city council meeting, I was reminded of the fact that Lori Lightfoot sounded sincere also when she ran. So for me, the jury's out until we see some results on, what actually ends up happening, what's put into play after we had this very important discussion that our city council members engaged in, questioning what's going on last Friday.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. You've got, it's not just the police chief trying to come up with the best solution. He's also trying to protect his department. So I'm sure he's conflicted in some areas too, to be fair. But what are we gonna do? If city council is so divided on a solution, and Mayor Lightfoot is just going to do what Mayor Lightfoot does, what's going to change and when? We've got people who are going to come out and protest again, and that's inevitable. So the question is, how are the police going to handle it? How's the mayor going to handle it? And what are we going to see any positive results, or more of the same?
We're also faced with the choice: do we want an authoritarian mayor who doesn't want any oversight, doesn't want a citizens oversight board, doesn't want a publicly elected teachers board, or do we want a city council that's rife with maybe half the members engaging in corruption? And we've already got 3 aldermen between Burke, Daley, and Austin who are under federal investigation, and they're still serving. And God knows how many other alder people might be involved, engaged in corruption, or just serving their own agendas, as I feel, I'm not going to name names right now, but But after rewatching that city council meeting, there were a lot of very self-serving, progressive alder people who were just there to listen to themselves. And people that I actually supported last election thought, oh, this progressive alder person who's running, that'll be a breath of fresh air. And I've since discovered, no, they're just there to toot their own horn, self-aggrandize, and elevate themselves and their own agendas and their careers. So unless we get better candidates in there, we're between a rock and a hard place right now.
Well, at least we have a really long name for the drive on the outside of the city, right next to the
and that's
lake over there. And,
oh, you pushed my button. That's exactly the main matter that those aldermen I'm talking about. Oh, I'll drop their names. Vasquez. What was the other guy who initiated it? Who I'm forgetting his name now. But
was it Moore?
Moore, yeah, David Moore, yeah. And to listen to them up there talking, and I know for a fact from what I was reading that people in Moore's community are just disgusted that he's not focusing on what they need in their community. He's focusing on this thing to elevate himself, to virtue signal.
Yeah, I know some. I spend more time on Twitter than I should, but I know there are people in there that follow Chicago politics, maybe even closer than you and I do, and they're talking about how it's like, oh, they put so much noise and pressure into this Lakeshore Drive thing, and now what are they doing after the 4th of July? Why aren't they getting into another city council meeting and dealing with the city's problems? And nothing's happening right now. I mean, are they on Congress's timetable here? Taking 7 vacations a year or whatever it is. I mean, the city's got things that need to be done. Why isn't city council at work doing that?
Agreed. And I think that more than the implications of changing the name of a road that is the most inoffensive stretch of named road in the city, it's all the money and wasted time that they spent on that. It's a virtue signal. Again, I've said this before. As somebody who leans left and more progressive, I used to hate right-wing people using the term virtue signaling as if virtue signaling is a bad thing, but it has been weaponized and turned into a bad thing, just as much as the phrase social justice warrior. Social justice is a good thing. Now people are using it to cancel each other, and that's not what social justice should be about. I brought up our compadres over on Hardlands Media regarding our next story because I was not able to listen to them today because I was listening to the city council meeting during my drive. But they actually covered this other story that I brought to your attention that I wanted to talk about. And I am going to run the video of them discussing it also because it deals with the impending evictions that are looming once the eviction moratorium runs out. And coming from Block Club Chicago, Alex V. Hernandez, thousands of Chicagoans could face evictions next month. This group is going door to door to keep people in their homes. The Chicago Flats Initiative is connecting renters and homeowners to eviction and foreclosure prevention programs. We don't want to see what happened in a 2008 housing crisis repeated. Now, last week's show, I was able to share the link with our viewers if you needed to apply for that that federal rental housing program that would pay you, I don't remember if it was 12 or 15 months back rent to catch up on your rent. You fill out an application, your landlord fills out an application, and if you qualify, you can get relief from the federal government to help take care of, some of your rental debt. But
let me show you that.
You didn't know about the program?
Well, I have a mortgage. I don't pay rent.
Okay. Well, they're not thinking about. Interesting. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about because so many people are renting. But I'm going to turn over some of the details to Kit and Daniel, who I believe covered it very well today, probably better than I could, and then we can come back and talk about it.
This is a Chicago story, but also I got 2 videos from Case Study QB because this is a national story as well, because this is an ongoing problem that's going to be impacting everyone across the country. Thousands of Chicagoans could face evictions next month. This group is going door to door to keep people in their homes. So the Chicago Flats Initiative is connecting renters and homeowners to eviction and foreclosure prevention programs. We don't want to see what happened in 2008 housing crisis repeated. And the sad fact is, it probably might happen again. And everyone know your rights as a renter and a homeowner, all right? Albany Park, as many as 21,000 Chicagoans could be hit with eviction notices after Illinois' eviction moratorium expires July 24th, according to housing organizers. Now, a citywide coalition has launched the Chicago Flats Initiative, a door-to-door outreach program connecting 2, 3, and 4 flat owners and renters to assistance programs that can keep them in their homes. When I drive to the studio, I've been seeing more people in tent cities living underneath the viaducts and the bridges.
Everywhere.
It's getting bad. And it's getting really bad. Businesses are being shut down too. The effort is coming from community groups from across Chicago that long have organized around affordable housing. Organizers are passing out flyers detailing the Illinois Housing Department Authority's Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which can provide eligible people up to 12 months of unpaid rent and to 3 months of future rent with a maximum grant of $25,000. The group also is telling neighbors about neighborhood housing services of Chicago programs that include foreclosure prevention resources to keep homeowners of 2 or 4 flats in their homes, HUD certificate financial counseling services, and home buyer education classes, competitive mortgages, home purchase assistance up to $20,000, and home improvement grants up to $25,000, health and safety inspections, construction and management services. Evictions and foreclosures are expected to hit low and moderate income families in Chicago's Black and Latino neighborhoods, the hardest according to the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. Mind you, we've actually interviewed people from Lawyers for Better Housing on our show way early on during the early days of Heartland's Media. It's getting rough out there, folks. Mm-hmm. In helping neighbors stabilize their housing, the Chicago Flats Initiative is supporting the larger goal of preserving the city's 2, 3, 4 flat buildings. Those buildings make up 26% of Chicago's housing stock overall and 35% of all rental housing, according to the DePaul University study. We don't want to see what happened in 2008 housing crisis repeated, said Diana Lemus, Vice President of the Board for Committees United, one of the groups going door to door. The foreclosures during the crisis led to the displacement of Black and immigrant families from the city and in gentrifying areas. We don't want to see that happen again. People who are committed to stay in their neighborhoods, excuse me. On a humid summer day, volunteers with Communities United knocked on doors near North Spalding and West Pensacola Avenues as part of their outreach. Communities United has fought for affordable housing in Albany Park and surrounding neighborhoods for decades. The group has already covered at least 50 blocks in Albany Park. If property owners and renters don't answer the door, the group members leave behind a bag with flyers in Spanish and English, explaining renters' rights, resources for rental and mortgage assistance, homeowner programs, how to get vaccinated against coronavirus, and more. Amongst the group that they were Mertz Alday and her daughter Alexandria, 17. Mertz Alday has lived in Albany Park for 27 years, and her daughter is a student at Roosevelt High School. Many times people don't know where to get this kind of help to begin with, or they don't have immigration papers and they fear asking or seeking help, all they said in Spanish. But if they don't know what kind of help that's available, families have nothing but stress and will often move when they can't afford to stay, especially with the loss of jobs in the pandemic. That displacement hurts children who lack stability for their education and development, all he said, which is why she volunteers to help other neighborhoods. So again, I urge everyone to read this article in its entirety. Chicago Block Club does fantastic work. But let's play this other video from Case Study QB. Folks, this is a nationwide problem, and our Democratic and Republican lawmakers don't give a damn. Play this video.
I'm going to let Kit continue covering this because I'm actually looking for the link for the housing assistance. So I'm going to let Kit complete this story while I find the link from last week's show notes and share it in the chat for our viewers to be able to access.
Video.
Yeah, this is where the story goes national.
Cities are seeing a surge in homelessness. It's largely due to financial.
It does go national here, but since Daniel and Kit decided to cover a Chicago story, preempt me and us, I'm doing a Chicago story. I'm going to let the national go, and then I'm going to cover some national stuff on our show now and then. Ha!
And that's fine.
I'm just being snarky about it. No, I'm glad they covered this. It was very, very important for, because it does link to the national crisis, but
because here's where basically we're all going to start learning about what people are going to be calling Biden bills. And in this case, it's he's going to be talking about a story in Denver where the city is actually making a half concerted effort to do something about it, but it'd be nice if they went all the way.
Yeah. All right, let me get that video started, and I did find the correct link. Oh,
many people
Wario's joining us.
Because of the pandemic. In Denver, Colorado, in particular, they've seen a 30% increase in the homeless population there. Now the Mile High City is is trying out a new and unique solution to try and address the spike. NBC's Dasha Burns now with more on what they hope could be a model for other cities.
Tucked into a church parking lot in suburban Denver is Alan Bowe's new neighborhood.
I was living in an apartment for 15 years, came home one night to a note on the door that said, order to quit.
In the middle of the pandemic, you were
Yes.
left without a home.
Yes.
You'll find stories like Alan's across the city, whose estimates show a 30% surge in homelessness during the pandemic. But with the crisis came an unlikely solution. City-sanctioned campsites launched in December 2020. Clean, colorful rows of tents provide people a bed to call their own, complete with 24/7 security and daily meals.
We have housing navigation, we have employment navigation, we have an outreach doctor, an outreach nurse that comes in, we have mental health professionals.
This newest site can house 40 people. Their other site can house 60, but with thousands still unsheltered, the goal is to expand into many more parts of Denver. You were a little skeptical at first.
I just didn't find anything, humane about encouraging folks to go outdoors. But it was, one, the pandemic, and two, looking at the model that showed me it would be a thoughtful, well-managed situation, and we had to give it a try.
That trial run already proving successful. But the ultimate goal is to get people out of tents and into homes.
What the space does is it provides the break from having to claw your way to a restroom or to a shower to wash your clothes. And once your basic needs are met, what you see is this natural progression into, okay, what now?
This is what we're facing now. And I think you aptly phrased it, Ed, Bidenvilles. I have a friend who just got her real estate license. And she has been telling me that everybody's selling. Everybody's like, it's like a seller's market. And it must be because people can't afford their mortgages. And I asked her, well, why is everybody selling? Where are they going to live if everybody's selling their houses? And it kind of hit her. She's like, well, I don't know, I guess they'll get apartments until they buy another house. And I'm like, this probably speaks to people like yourself in your situation. You've got a mortgage. So if so many people are selling because they can't keep up with their mortgages, from mortgage payers to renters, it's a crisis. And, I'm glad we had Kit and Daniel covering it. Some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much to add that Kit and Daniel didn't already bring up earlier in the show. And by all means, go back and watch that later, everybody. If you didn't catch it.
Yeah, I can. Do you know if it goes on much longer? I mean, I
don't think they cover much more after that. It's just that we're all seeing that this crisis is coming, and it kind of feels like there's nothing we can really do about it, and Congress is just ignoring it. But they're ignoring everything.
Yeah,
there's so many things that they could do right now, and their choice right now, especially Hologram Joe's choice, is to do an executive order that's obviously, little bits and pieces of pro-business stuff that sounds like he's making efforts to do things, but is he really doing anything that's really going to help people out who are struggling right now? People needed financial assistance during the pandemic. We got hardly anything in relief checks. Some people didn't get anything. Crumbs, exactly. We needed comprehensive health care for everybody that was low cost or zero cost, and Congress could do that if they wanted to. They chose not to.
They don't want to.
They don't want to.
They want to put the money into the military. They want to put the money. Yeah. They want to give all the relief to Nancy Pelosi's husband, Mitch McConnell's wife, all these, who, by the way, let's briefly sidetrack on a national story. Did you follow the bullshit with Nancy Pelosi and how she's the richest congressperson, her and her husband, from their investments? She sits on all these committees where she finds out what the government's going to be putting money into or what the relationships are. Then she and her husband run out and purchase stock in those companies before that information is publicly known. Why isn't this woman in jail?
People who don't understand what that is, that's insider trading.
Yes.
And Congress actually set up some rules where they said you're not supposed to do that, but they legally, as members of Congress, cannot be charged for doing it. So they're going to keep doing it. So there were problems. Dianne Feinstein got caught doing it. This, I think, is at least Nancy and her husband's second time being caught doing it. Who knows how many other members of Congress are doing this kind of thing. And meanwhile, they're complaining about people investing in AMC and crypto. It's insane, the diversions that they do to hold on to their millions while leaving the rest of us with crumbs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's their priority. I'm looking up the other Senator Perdue. Senator Perdue was also singled out for insider trading. Kelly Loeffler, that's who it was. Kelly Loeffler, who thank God lost the last election cycle, but she was the one along with Perdue before we then heard about Feinstein and then Nancy Pelosi. So yeah, I'm proudly invested in AMC, and that's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but the beating that retail investors are taking right now, trying to use the rules and the information to turn the tables around on these. Excuse me, I had to stop myself. These scoundrels is the polite way to put it.
That's a good word.
Much more preferable, I'm sure, if my mother's watching, because I'm hearing about my potty mouth all the time from her over here. Retail investors making money, bad. Wall Street making money and spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt to try to tank retail investors from succeeding, that's good. At least that's what most mainstream media, financial outlets, are leaning on. I
know I sidetracked us here a little bit.
But it's
Wall Street. But getting back to the housing thing, it's ridiculous that Congress didn't make any kind of effort to help people make their payments during the lockdown.
Yep.
These deferrals. What do they call them? Basic forbearance is what they're called. Yeah. Where basically they just said, okay, well, your payments just stop. You'll still owe it at the end of the forbearance, but your payments stop at least for now. So what happens is you go 6 months down the road or longer, and those payments come due.
Yep.
And if you don't pay them, you go into foreclosure.
And if you were out of a job, how are you going to catch up on those months that have passed? That's
so you have to gamble basically. If you're a mortgage holder and you're having financial difficulties, you either have to decide, okay, well, I'm either going to have to find a way to come up with that money while I'm doing the forbearance, or you ignore the forbearance and just try to keep making your mortgage payments and see if you can get yourself out of that hole on your own.
Well, I'm sure Congress thought that those stimulus checks, what did we get? 3? Along with extended unemployment, that they also cut down.
Was it? We got one check for, was it $1,200? And then one for $600.
And then
we got Joe's $1,400 that he said was $2,000.
Right.
So Joe owes us $600.
Yeah.
Plus, VP Harris wanted to give us $2,000 a month. What happened to that? So take $2,000 a month and multiply that by a year. So they owe us, another $24,000 apiece. Everybody.
Kamala
minimum
will say anything and stand for nothing is what she's all about. And again, those are national figures but they do relate to what we're talking about. And I did bring up on screen here the link for the Illinois Rental Payment Program. I'm sorry, it's not going to help people paying their mortgages, but if you are in a rental situation and you're behind, I did post the link in the live chat. I hope that YouTube runs our live chat this week, because for some reason, the live chat that was active when I was with Jose on Tuesday has not updated, nor have closed captions on that YouTube broadcast. So I don't think it's anything I changed in the studio here, but
stuck in a buffer somewhere.
It could be, but in case our live chat comments don't come up with the link, I'll say it here on screen. You want to Google search Illinois Housing Development Authority, Illinois Rental Payment Program to get to this application so you can get some assistance with catching up on your rent.
And I don't have the information handy, but I was searching a little while ago to find out if there was going to be some mortgage assistance programs, and I'm told that there is one that's coming soon. I don't know the details of it yet. I'm just going to keep the IDHA probably will have that information available too when it comes up. We'll just have to keep checking that website and see what exactly it is that they're offering. It might end up being one of those, another forbearance thing, in which case, good luck. But hopefully it'll be something a little more substantial that's going to help some homeowners.
I'm still waiting on my small business association loan that I filed in January. And we're in July now. I wonder if, as our officials claim that the pandemic is maybe behind us and over, if all these programs like the one you just mentioned is just going to be put on the shelf. Although on the flip side, as we've been seeing this variant or these variants emerging, being reported on by the news cycle, and Biden did not meet his July 4th deadlines for everybody being vaccinated and getting this thing under control.
Yeah, I'm told he changed the numbers on that expectation too. I think his original number was like 70% vaccinated, and then he backtracked to 50% or something like that.
It makes you wonder if these variants do catch hold, and I'm not saying that as if I hope they will, but will our elected representatives then recognize that they can't keep withholding this relief, because withholding of the relief is what put us into this situation right now, whether it comes to people's homes, their mortgages, their rentals, just everyday survival finance.
People are going to have to start putting more pressure on their representatives. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it, because it's been made very clear to us that most of our representatives are in the pocket of or the special interest of somebody who isn't you. And I mean the general public when I say you. So you have to find ways to, I guess everybody has to find a way to use leverage the way you can, without getting into any major details or calling for, actual guillotines or anything like that. Don't do guillotines, people. Come on. There's better options.
Ed, you say guillotine. Guillotine's like it's a bad thing.
Well, you got to save those for special occasions, right?
I know, because we want to throw them in the volcano first, right?
I didn't say anything about throwing people into a volcano.
But isn't that the platform of the Volcano Party?
Now, it is my understanding that the Volcano Party's unofficial slogan is "Drop Congress into a volcano," which is an entirely different thing from throwing Congress into a volcano.
All right. Well, fair enough. I still don't think that the idea of pitchforks and torches and guillotines after we all exercise our votes resulting in nothing is necessarily a bad thing to think about, but I'll table that for the future and we'll see where we end up going. So
anyway, I make weird artwork and do parody websites. So if you want a Volcano Party t-shirt, there is a link in the live chat.
Bacon for president.
Yeah. Now I was under the understanding that Bacon for president will not be running on the Volcano Party ticket.
Oh, this is news to me.
It was explained to me. I'm actually, they call me Tweet Boy on his Twitter account. I help him send tweets when he's not able to do it himself. But CP Bacon has told me that he does run for president on Twitter, but that's way different from running in real life. So it was a weird distinction that I didn't understand, because he's been doing this since 2012. I'm like, dude, you've been running for president on Twitter? How does that work? How are they
Ask Donald Trump. Ask Donald Trump. Tell him to ask Donald Trump.
I don't know. It was very confusing to me.
The Twitter president.
No, I was told by Kit Cabello that Chance the Snapper was thinking about running on the ticket.
I did see that on the show the other day. You're getting a little scratchy again. I don't know if I'm
Can
wondering
you hear me now?
that shifted that with the microphone or cords.
I'm going to just make a slight scratchy because I got a pop filter here and I probably get to hit it. Does that sound better?
Give me another mic check.
Hello.
You're
Check.
garbled and scratchy.
Microphone check. Check one. Check.
Still having a problem. But you know what? In the meantime, what I'm going to do is while you check your microphone there, let me move us into the next story that we will talk about. That we'll talk about once your mic check.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
There you go.
Hopefully they'll hear me. Okay, might have been a loose connection there.
Okay. So I can hear an echo of myself on your end.
Okay, let me try turning.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gone now. Oh, you froze up.
Have I frozen?
All right, he froze up. I'm sure he's going to join us in a second, and he is the one who brought this story to my attention, so I'm just going to go ahead and share it with all of you. Regarding the local Cook County strike, workers shut down Tony Preckwinkle's office. And this comes to us from Local 73 SCIU. And this just did come out yesterday. The county building was shut down as striking Cook County workers rallied in the streets, demanding a fair contract now. Workers carpooled downtown in the afternoon after warming up on picket lines at Stroger, Provident, and County Jail, Markham. Are we back? Looks like we're still broadcasting. Hey,
did I break the internet?
I think maybe.
Awesome.
I'm going to look at the live chat. Did you guys lose us? Are we still on? Oh, it says buffering, and it said we were both disconnected, but it looks like we're both back in. So that's a good.
See, YouTube doesn't like when we talk about the volcano party. I think that's what it is.
They don't like anybody that's not mainstream media sharing dissent.
No,
they only want manufactured consent.
Anyway,
we're back. So we were going to move into the strike story that I started reading. Do you want to share this with us, or should I read from the article?
I don't have. Hold on a second.
I've got it up here. I can read it, and then we can jump into talking about it.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know where we got.
This is that link. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where we got lost in the live stream, but I'll start from the beginning. That the workers shut down Preckwinkle's office yesterday, and this comes from Local 73 SCIU. The county building was shut down as striking Cook County workers rallied in the streets demanding a fair contract now. Workers carpooled downtown in the afternoon after warming up on picket lines at Stroger, Provident, the county jail, Markham Courthouse, and construction sites in Hickory Hills and Buffalo Grove. We started the event with a march around Daly Plaza, which resulted in 2 simultaneous picket lines on Washington Street, on Dearborn Avenue, and Clark Street. Members held the intersection for nearly 10 minutes while chanting for a fair contract. The crowd crossed over to the sidewalk for a march around the county building. The line of strikers stretched around the entire building as members were chanting outside. A group of strikers went inside to President Preckwinkle's office on the 5th floor to deliver a solidarity letter. Now, Jose and I talked about this Tuesday, that Preckwinkle wants to see all these people go away. And we know that Preckwinkle's probably also going to jump into the mayor's race again. So we'll have Lori Lightfoot, who wants us all to go away, and we'll have Preckwinkle, who wants it all to go away. All in the middle of a pandemic. We're talking about everybody literally struggling to survive. They don't want to pay our county workers, our essential workers, what they need to survive, not just during the pandemic, but beyond.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think I even posted a couple clips that would be good for our audience to see too. Did you get those?
Let me go into the Slack. Yeah, let's see here.
The first one was Cook County worker Erica White.
Let's see here. I see Allison Arwadi. I see scrolling
that.
through. Oh, okay. So it's below the Allison Arwadi link. Oh yeah, Erica Wyke. All right, let me copy this from Twitter and see if I'm able to bring it up here. Paste and go.
So I can read what the tweet
I got
says.
it. It's coming up. Is this got video? Awesome. All right,
Yes.
let's run the video.
But guess what? I'm going to remind us all we're worthy. We'll work this fight. We've earned what we're asking for. We ain't begging. We earned it. We ain't pleading. We've earned it. We're asking them to do the right thing. But y'all know those of us that with children, sometimes they don't hear us. You can say, pick up that sock, James, and he walk on by. 5 minutes later, James, did you hear me say, pick up that sock? Yeah, Mama. But the sock's still on the floor, James. So then you better use some spicy words that I won't say. And when you use the spicy word, you get the attention of James, because the sock comes up off the floor.
That's why we use spicy words, because people aren't listening to our peaceful dissent.
It's time to stop being passive, y'all. We got to do some things that'll get the attention of those that are making decisions. How do we do that? We show up in a sea of purple where they are. I'm not talking, you know what? I'm not willing to give Tony Preckwinkle no more of a time. I don't have no more to give her, because guess what? She ain't but one vote. But it's 17 county commissioners sit on the board. That's what I'm finna focus my time on. If I ain't seeing you at the strike line, or if I haven't heard in my ear that you've been behind the scenes working for us, that means you're working against us. We gotta know our own power, SEIU. We put some of them in, and I'm a witness. We walk some streets and some neighborhoods to get them elected. And now it's time for us to show them we'll walk them same damn streets to get you out of them. Listen, we've been disrespected for far too long. My father told me, don't really expect nothing from some people. So I ain't expecting it, I'm demanding it. We gotta start demanding what we want. We have to show politicians that we are somebody. We have to show politicians that, hey, when you wanted some money, you came to SEIU and we gave it. You didn't beg for it, we gave it to you on your word. Our word is our work, y'all. We ain't gotta prove nothing to nobody.
This is one of the topics that I'm going to be discussing on the special show Monday with Daniel Lupker of Hardlands Media. We're literally in a time machine, going back to the Gilded Age of the 20s, where unions are being demonized. The class division is such that people are struggling to survive, and this is a class war right now. There's no other way around it. When you see how workers' rights have been diminished and unions have been marginalized and demonized like this. We've got one more clip that you shared with me. Let me go to this other Twitter video. One of the other strikers.
Next up to bring up a sister, a fighter. She's from Chicago's 49th Ward. She's an older sister. Put your hands together for Maria Hatt.
Yeah, that's our older sister.
That's awesome.
It is so good to be here with you. And Diane, thank you for your words. 15 days. So in the 49th Ward, I asked myself why I was going to be in Maywood this morning. But in the 49th Ward, we've got 73 members in the 49th Ward. Right? We've got 73 members all over this county. You guys, before the pandemic, were the lifeblood of making sure that our county worked. Our public workers, our healthcare workers, our custodians, our aides, the work that you do is so essential. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us that we need you. We need you desperately. We've been underpaying you. We've been not respecting so many of your work, of your roles. And I am proud to stand with you as you stand and say, no more. As you say, we need a fair contract now. As you say, we need the money that we are owed. Diana's right. You guys put your bodies and your lives on the line every day. Every day, your families. I don't know that we can put a value or a price tag on that. So from the 49th Ward in Chicago, I am with you. Our residents are with you. We are here. President Preckwinkle, we need you to make this deal. We need you all back to work, and we need to make sure that we don't take you for granted ever again.
Maria Haddon is one of the good ones. One of our good older people. That's really that is encouraging and remarkable that she went out there in solidarity with everyone.
Yeah, and on a side note, I think calling her Alder sister is pretty awesome. This should be Alder brothers and Alder sisters. That'd be okay with me, I think. But
I like that.
I'm sure some people would still find it offensive. Maybe some, I'll leave it up to you in the chat.
Versus, we've got the Alder sisters and brothers
what were
who
they
are in solidarity with us, and we've got the Alder creatures who are wasting time renaming streets.
Yeah, what's the official one that they call it? Is it Alder people?
Now they're Alder persons, yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them didn't like that name change. Remember,
it should be council member.
Yeah, should. That's a simple way around it. But I like the Alder brother and Alder sister. I think that's for those that are actually in solidarity with the people that they're representing.
Yeah, I, at least you'd have some kind of sense that, or in some way, that they understand that they're supposed to work with us and not against us.
Truth. Mariana in the live chat, I'm going to repeat. This is what I was pointing down to. It's the roaring 2020s. That's the best way to put it. Absolutely, Mariana. I really like that comment there. So as we've waded through the muck and misery and trying to pull ourselves out and hang on and never give up, because survivors never give up, we do have a pleasant story to share at the end of our show, and I'm going to turn this over to E, because this is something that Lainey had covered in one of our previous Civically Minded Chicago segments, but I understand that this is a story close to your heart also.
Well, yeah, and Lainey turned me on to the Piping Plovers saga, which is great. For those who don't know, the Piping Plovers are an endangered species of bird. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can kind of see them. They're not super large birds. And some people have been protecting them. And not just in Chicago, but Chicago is one of the places where the plovers have been known to go. And so when they started appearing in Montrose Harbor, people started trying to protect them over here. And that's why you have two plovers named Monty and Rose for Montrose Harbor. That's why they were named that. So they've made efforts to lay eggs and further their species, and I believe they are making progress, if you check with the website, on expanding the species back towards something that can be a little more self-sustaining. But right now, people have been trying to protect them with cages like these to protect their eggs from predators. So I think it was a couple weeks back, maybe a month back, that Monty and Rose had laid some eggs, but some was it raccoons got to them?
Yeah, I do remember Lainey covered that story. Yeah,
but they made a second attempt. Yeah, and so now Monty and Rose have more chicks. You can see, if you look close enough, I don't know if you're able to zoom on your end, Jerry, but you can see that you got Monty and Rose, and there are at least two chicks visible. I believe 3 of them hatched.
I'm pointing to them. Here's my arrow. I'm gonna take you up to the little chicks right up there.
Yeah, there's one of them.
Yep.
And if you go just to the right and up, there's the other one. And so finally, at least some species is making an effort to preserve itself, even with our help. If we can't preserve our own, maybe at least we can get the Plovers back up and running in full strength. And maybe that's all that matters, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Getting the Plovers back where they need to be.
I think Rose and Monty are an inspiration for all of us, and I'm not being facetious here. It is a feel-good story, and at its very simplest, essential, and honest level, it's an inspirational story that I do think that we should all kind of take heart in and food for thought, like how we're running things amongst ourselves as a species that is constantly looking at all these problems that the people we're putting into positions of power just are too sociopathic to help us wade through, or just don't give a damn about because of this class division right now. But I'm glad that you brought this to our attention today, because I did see this story and I need a little bit of a pick up and cheer up now and then too. So after everything else we've covered, let's end our show here and take the inspiration from Monty and Rose into our week, our weekend, as I wish everybody a very safe weekend out there. I'm very, very excited and pleased that E was able to join me again tonight. Ed, thanks for coming on. I always enjoy our conversations. I think we've got a really nice rapport here, and I appreciate your insight into most of the stuff we're talking about.
Well, I appreciate you letting me test out my new microphone setup during the live stream. I mean, I broke the internet at least once, but at least we got it up and running.
We did, and at least I think we had a pretty fair test run for your microphone, and it looks like we've got the approval of our viewers in the live chat. I'm really glad that everyone's here to participate and join us, and I love sharing your comments, having our community be part of the show. Join me on Monday night when I've tentatively got Daniel booked to come on so we can kind of talk about some of our impressions on the time machine we're in right now in 2020, reflecting over 100 years ago, the 100 years ago, the 1920s and the class division and blah, 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 blah. Maybe my second drink is like making me ramble. But remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. And be safe, Chicago. Thanks, Ed.